This podcast is a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to find out more. 50 years after the events of the final Harry Potter books, and Harry Potter is now headmaster of Hogwarts, ready to usher in a brand new generation of witches and wizards. My name's Radio Mike, and I love Harry Potter. In fact, I love Harry Potter so much that when I was a kid, I wrote an entire series of fan fiction books based on Hogwarts. This is book 1 in that series. Welcome to Harry Potter and the Boys. Hello, Muggles, and welcome to Harry Potter and the Boys, a fan fiction podcast by me, Radio Mike, and my guest today is Zach Miller, a very good friend of mine.
G'day, guys. Mikey, thank you so much for having me. It is truly an honour.
Is it really?
To be the second guest on Australia's only Harry Potter-based fan fiction, parody, satirical, sort of metafiction.
That should be our new tagline, because it was just a fan fiction podcast by Radio Mike, but you've just taken it to new heights.
It's got a lot of depth.
Yeah, okay.
It's got a lot of depth.
Thank you, man.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Zach is a comedian, writer extraordinaire,
Absolutely.
Very handsome.
All
Go
of
look at his photos.
Kind of between comedy at the moment, I suppose. Like really just here for a good time.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And former radio host as well. And podcaster absolutely. And everything.
Well, we used to work together at Fox FM and all those kind of stations. So, man, it's just a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I've been a big fan of Harry Potter and the Boys, HP and the B, since 20th Century Boy. It was one of my favorite parts of the show.
Thanks, man.
I think what a lot of listeners probably experience, is definitely what I experience, is not only are you going over what you wrote as a sort of a 13-year-old and analysing that, but it really reminds me of the sensibilities and ridiculous humour I had at 13.
Great.
And I think that's my favourite part. I think like when you said for the first time, Harry Potter is also the head of giving head, I fucking died. Like I was in tears, not only because like that's kind of funny, but thinking about how much I would have died as a 13-year-old hearing that.
But also just like how ludicrous it is that is a title that apparently he has in that world. Like,
absolutely.
He's somehow become the head of giving head to people.
It must have been fantastic at it, and who bestows that title upon him? You know what happens? It's great.
Like we both went to like private boys' schools. You know how they've was he also co-ed?
No, it was an all boys school, and I also see the shades of that through your writing as well.
Because don't you think there's like, it's bloody Miss Thompson, she's the head of rowing, and Mr. Smith, he's the head of volleyball.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mr. Potter, he's the head of giving head.
Well, I was thinking like as a 13-year-old, you probably heard the term headmaster.
Yeah.
I thought classic sucks dick. Like I'm writing that in.
He's the master of head.
And he's headmaster, but I can't like underline it. I'll absolutely like have to really spell this out for my audience.
There's no subtlety in that show.
Not a lot of subtlety in your writing.
The writing's quite blatant. I guess we should just quickly start before we get into chapter 5 today, which is what we're doing. And you actually came in with a notepad with a bunch of thoughts on it.
I had some thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we address that, or will they just come up?
They'll come up.
Okay,
I just didn't. I had a lot of, as I've listened to this series, so many ideas and thoughts have popped up. I had to get them down on a piece of paper. So
great.
I thought I'd bring it with it. I think they'll come up organically in the conversation. Yeah.
What is we're at the same age pretty much. And I assume everyone in our age group in their mid-20s has at least some experience of Harry Potter.
Yes.
So what is yours?
My experience of Harry Potter, I think in the spectrum of Harry Potter fandom, I would be considered a mudblood.
Right, so you're a bad fan.
I love Harry Potter. I grew up with it. I saw every movie. I would research the lore. I understood it. I never picked up a book. Didn't open one page. Didn't even think about it. Didn't get close.
Yet here you are on reading a Harry Potter fan fiction by me, Radio.
This will be the most Harry Potter I've read.
That's
literally on a page. I know, and I'm sorry to fans out there, and I'm sure there might be a couple of people like me. As a kid, I just couldn't read. I was really bad at it. I just struggled.
Interesting.
And I think the only things I really got into were like Andy Griffiths and 3 books of Del Toro Quest. And I thought, that's it. That's it for me. I've got a Game Boy.
Del Toro Quest was like the wannabe Harry Potter. Like, it was like the bad young fiction. No, like,
but you know what?
Okay.
But it was shorter. And that's what drew it to me. I was like, I could probably punch that out.
Yeah. I mean, Luke Kidgel was on the other week. He said his favorite book series was Specky McGee. I don't know what's less highbrow, Specky McGee or Del Toro Quest.
Actually, that reminds me, one of the few books I did read was Pete Hellier's parody book about Strawny. He wrote like a whole autobiography of Strawny.
Wow.
And that's
pretty clever though.
I mean, he's clever, but for that to be like up there with my sort of literature experience is...
What's with my guess and just reading AFL related books?
I think you've cornered the market here. This could be a spin-off podcast.
On my website, there's a page for Harry Potter and the Boys. And on the Harry Potter and the Boys page, I've got a quote underneath, and it's, Harry Potter and the Boys is the best thing from the Harry Potter series in a long time. Believe me, I'd know. J.K. Rowling.
She might agree with you. I mean, again, a shock. I haven't read Fantastic Beasts, but I didn't love the movie as much as the Harry Potter experience. I mean, from the movies, you've got a favorite movie, right?
My favorite movie is Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay,
I think it's the most artistic film, I think, and it's the most experimental. But I also just love the story. I love the Marauders map and everything.
Totally, I loved it as a kid as well, and still do. No.
So, what is that? Your favorite? Would you say?
I think. My favorite over time has become Half-Blood Prince.
Wow, a lot of people saying that, and maybe I should revisit it because a lot of it I just remember being the weird romance love triangle between Ron, Lavender Brown, and Hermione.
I loved it for the same reason I loved Azkaban and Sirius Black being such a prominent figure. I think I loved the development of Harry Potter and Dumbledore's relationship.
Oh, nice.
And I think, because again, we're around the same age. We kind of grew up with these characters through the movies, particularly we aged with them. And
totally.
You start to, like your heroes, for the first time, you realize that your parents aren't invincible or they don't know everything. And I think Harry goes through that with Snape and with Dumbledore and they're really challenged in that respect. And also I feel like Ron comes into his own as a comic relief character.
Yeah, he's the key. Is he the keeper?
He's the keeper. He's like, mate, chicks are a lot, aren't they, Harry? And it's like, classic, they are. Again, I would have been 15, but
I actually also really like Malfoy in that movie. I think he's the best part of it, and he has that great scene where he goes to kill Dumbledore and he's really panicked, and I really like Tom Felton's performance.
I agree. The character development is awesome. And it's like the Empire Strikes Back for me, like the real dip in the series, like emotionally. And it just builds like such how do we overcome this? We've lost our mentor. We've lost our Gandalf.
Yeah.
What do we do?
I think that Harry Potter is like the Star Wars of our generation. Like, I think, in terms of gravitas and just popularity and being a phenomenon, Star Wars in the 70s and the 80s was just massive. It still is.
Totally. It'll be that series that we really want to share with our kids.
Yeah.
We'll want to watch it with them to see their reaction.
And I'd like to think that, our kids' generation would enjoy Harry Potter because, we enjoy Star Wars, right? So
absolutely.
I think people would like Harry Potter.
And they're both pretty timeless in their writing and setting, literally.
Yeah. Do you have a house that you identify with is another question.
That's a great question because I did the Pottermore quiz in anticipation of doing this. Right. I'd never done it. I'd always considered myself a Gryffindor as a kid.
Pick you a Ravenclaw.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I liked the idea of being a Gryffindor as a kid, and I always had that. And I feel like I led the quiz a little bit too.
Oh, okay.
Which is, you try not to, but you can't help it. It's like, oh, would you take on this challenge right in its face, or would you research it and understand it better? And I'm like, I'd take it on. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a Gryffindor.
Well, I mean, that's how the Pottermore quiz is actually quite fallible. Unless you have the sorting hat on your head, you're not truly being sorted.
That's why I reserve my house until I officially, sit under the sorting hat and it defines me. But I think I lean Gryffindor with Ravenclaw tendencies.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
Major in Gryffindor, minor in Ravenclaw.
Exactly. Yeah. I get around a little bit. I can see that.
And would you have a Patronus? Which I guess is a fancy way of saying, what's your favourite animal? Because it's a bit like that.
Yeah, it'd be a beagle, A
beagle?
Yeah.
Cool.
No. I was going to say eagle, but I was like, that's a bit wanky. You really think
cool.
But you think too highly of yourself. I was like, a sausage dog. Why not?
Yeah, okay.
It's a Patronus. It's going to do its thing.
Well, here's a similar question. If you were an animagus, what would you want to animagus into?
Oh, I definitely want to be a dog.
You would want to be a dog?
I would want to be that. So I kind of lean beagle, I guess.
Yeah.
But
people are friendly to dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Dogs, I mean, they're man's best friend. Yeah. They're adorable. They're lovely. And I don't know. They're so much fun.
Well, that's been a great intro.
Wow. I mean, I forgot that we're doing
fan fiction.
We should probably get to that.
We should just do Harry Potter discussion.
I'm sorry, everyone who came on here expecting the fan fiction. I could have gone on. Let's get into it.
I will quickly say a guy left a review on Apple, and thank you for your input, guy from Apple. And he said, he takes too long to get into the fan fiction. Just do the fan fiction at the start, so then I know when to stop listening. And I was like, sorry, mate, this is my Harry Potter fan fiction podcast. Maybe you should go make your own fan fiction podcast. But yeah, let's get into it.
That guy would be fucking smashing his head into a wall right now. I'm so sorry. You didn't need to know.
Pressing next 30 seconds.
I was like, I don't care who this guy is or why he's interested in Harry Potter. He hasn't even read the books.
Yeah, all right. Let's dive straight into it now. We're going into chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Boys. Zach's going to read it. We're all going to react. Feel free to react along. Let's just get into it. Last chapter, the boys were on the Hogwarts Express.
That's right. Yes.
They met a character called Harold who had a strange star-shaped birthmark on his head.
Yep.
And he was a known loner who had no friends, a self-proclaimed loner.
Yes.
So
seeing some parallels to the original works.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. No, I don't
want the birthmark.
There might be the birthmark.
Yeah.
And the loner nature.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll hand the laptop over to you. This is the official Word doc of Harry Potter and the Boys on my laptop.
It's so impressive. Even just looking at this, I can't believe you sat down and wrote all this and could be bothered. Man. Like the follow through.
The chapters are all in like italics and a good font. And
this font is like size 72 as well. Yeah. So we will get through this pretty quickly.
I think this is like a 3-page chapter. That's why we try to like buff out the podcast with analysis.
You got to get those numbers, man. You got to retain them. All right. Chapter 5. Welcome to Hogwarts.
Great.
The train had finally arrived at Hogwarts. The boys stared at it.
I mean, and sorry to interrupt so quickly, but not a very well-written sentence, is it? Like, J.K. Rowling would never be like, Harry got to Hogwarts. Now he's in the Great Hall. Like, it's never that simple.
Also, like, finally, like, all right, that last chapter went on a little long.
Yeah.
The boys stared at it. Whoa, said Sam. I never knew it was so big and fugly.
Fugly?
That really dates this.
Fugly is definitely a term that has gone by the wayside.
Absolutely. Big in like 2007.
Yeah. Doesn't fugly mean fucking ugly? Is that what it means? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. That's a very aged sentence, yes.
I know. It's fucking rank. I want to kill it, said Tom.
Okay.
Again?
And they're directing it to the school?
I think, yeah. They're quite malicious.
Which is quite mean because Hogwarts is a really beautiful castle.
I would have thought, I mean, these guys, they got high standards.
Yeah.
All the first years moved along and they met an incredibly fat man called Hagrid. Wow.
I also like that.
So yeah, I'm just reading ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, it's funny because so many of the existing characters, the book so far has just assumed but then then it like introduces you to Hagrid as if you'd know Harry Potter, but you wouldn't know Hagrid. So this is him.
Yeah, central character. Also, like even a description of him, incredibly fat man, probably pushing 120 at this point.
Yeah.
Wobble weasel woo wada, said Hagrid.
Very good Hagrid impression.
Thanks.
And one of Hagrid's classic quotes from the original.
Yeah, well, it was always, they had catchphrases, every character.
Yeah, and that was his.
Harry's was, why'd you kill my parents?
That sounds almost Borat, like wah wee wah wah.
Oh my god, it is. It's very like wobble whizzer woo.
Okay, so Hagrid said wobble whizzle woo.
Yeah, very strong stuff
Okay.
there. You see, at his old age, Hagrid kind of went crazy.
Wow.
He also gained 46 trillion kilos.
So Hagrid now weighs more than any known thing in the universe.
Yes, he would have a gravitational field. His density would be that of like a neutron star. But this seems factually correct.
Yes. All scientifically proven. Magic can do anything.
Well, yeah, exactly. We must remember the soft magic system.
I like to imagine Hagrid gaining weight and Harry's just like, Hagrid, we need to do something about your weight. And he's just like, weight just control us. And it's just like, Hagrid just like wobbles up and like maintains
you don't even fit into your cabin, mate. He's riding the what is it, like Bucky or Buck?
A buckbeak.
Buckbeak.
Just
Bucky.
crushes to the ground.
Hagrid, fathead, Frab Fred?
Hagrid, fathead, Freb.
He said.
Hagrid says that.
Oh, Hagrid said. Oh, he says that.
Do you think he's introducing himself? Like, Hagrid, Frab.
He said, pointing to a bunch of boats.
Okay. So it seems like he's gone crazy. He's no longer able to communicate properly in English.
It actually kind of sounds like he's Felch.
Felch?
Filch.
You're really showing your lack of book knowledge there.
Yeah. See, I heard it like audibly.
Yeah.
Didn't read
you never saw the spelling.
Felch.
It's like when people are like, run like the wind.
Sorry, English
like,
is my second language. I just learned it, See, I struggle with reading. Suddenly, Hagrid said, "Baba double, baba luap."
Okay.
So you've given me a very easy sort of sentence structure to get through here, but I'm loving Hagrid's crazy spin.
Yeah.
Hagrid pointed to his wand to the boats, and they all blew up.
Okay, so what Hagrid is... Few things with this. It seems as though he's used a spell, which is bubba blow up.
I say yes.
Which, J.K. Rowling likes to use Latin as her origin language. I've just used the words blow up and added a few buzz to it.
Oh, bubba. Oh my God. How am I missing this? See, this is actually kind of
cutting edge stuff you're
This
missing.
is kind of clever.
Thanks, man.
For a 13-year-old, I'm still always impressed about like the depth of the satirical nature of your writing.
A couple other things. So Hagrid doesn't have a wand because he was expelled from Hogwarts. They snapped his wand.
I remember because of the spider.
Yeah, he illegally does magic with his umbrella in the first one.
He gets the brolly out.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it seems like he's implying that they have to sail the boats over the lake, which they do in the Harry Potter films, but then he's pointed at them and then blown them up almost to spite the students. All right, for video viewers, the camera I was filming on ran out of batteries. Yeah, you love to see it. So we're now just swapping to my phone, so the camera would have changed a bit there. We were mid-sentence. Sorry, Zach.
No, let's roll on. A shy first year called Gemini spoke up. Now how are we meant to get across?
And Gemini, this is because I haven't read the whole thing again, but I used to read it on my other podcast, 20th Century Boy. So Gemini Jones is this character. He's a new boy.
Another boy.
One of the boys. Again, we are yet to meet a single female character in this book.
I really thought this was an opportunity for our first female character.
Yeah.
I mean, again, perhaps this is a critique on how some famous writers have struggled to write for women.
Good female characters,
yeah. This is a real, like, you're having a shot at Tolkien here as a 13-year-old.
Exactly.
It's incredible. Hagrid put on a monkey face and started swinging his arms as if he was doing freestyle.
So Hagrid just can't communicate with words, and he's implying they need to swim across the lake, and he's essentially doing this.
Also love the idea that like Harry Potter headmasters said, look, Hagrid's my buddy. I got to give him a job. He's not in a good way.
Harry's still employing you.
It's like, there's no way this guy will get a job with children.
Yeah. And like no one has said, Hagrid, you need help. Like you're not well.
Is there like an institution for witchcraft and wizardry?
There's St. Mungo's Hospital, which is like Professor Lockhart goes there at the end of Chamber of Secrets, and they meet him again in Order of the Phoenix.
So this is the depth of analysis you get from reading.
A lot of the hardcore fans would know about that. It wasn't in the film, but
blood.
So Hagrid should be in bloody St. Mungo's.
He's a bit of a bloody mungo, isn't he? He accidentally hit Derek in the head. Derek died.
Derek died.
Not even the end of the sentence there too, which is big.
So I guess he's freestyling and he's just smacked Derek, a poor little boy, over the head with the weight of 46 trillion kilos.
That's going to kill most.
No one could survive that.
But because he has such an important role later in this story, I decided to bring him back to life straight away.
As all good authors do.
Again, great critique.
I'd like
it sounds ridiculous, but you're really kind of making fun of Rowling here as well.
Yeah, I'd like to think that was me critiquing modern fiction.
13 years old, unbelievable.
I mean, Harry died in the last book.
Film,
and he came back.
Like immediately. I mean, there was a
brief moment in some kind of weird heaven.
Yeah, had just chilled with Dumbledore one last time. You want us to swim over that, said Rob. Yes, fucking idiot, said Hagrid.
Our first real English from Hagrid.
And it's just to call out Rob.
And they are, the way you said that was because each word has a full stop after it. So he's like, yes, fucking idiot, which is a strange decision.
No, absolutely. All the first years jumped in. Dragon Mailboy, this kid like the Malfoy of the story.
Yeah, so Dragon Mailboy we met a few chapters ago.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the Malfoy of this story.
Oh, sorry, and that's in parentheses. This kid is like the Malfoy of the story. Really, just to hammer home.
Just in case you couldn't tell. Yeah.
Don't like this character.
Yeah, and like if you couldn't tell from the name Mailboy that it was a parody of Malfoy, then this is just making sure you were aware of it.
And also, that was really to set you up so you wouldn't be too disappointed when you read Dragon Mailboy died from the frostbite as soon as he got in.
He died from frostbite. Oh, there you go. Because I don't know if you heard this episode, but when Luke was on, the end of the chapter, Malboy put them in a leg lock, and then it said they were so angry at Malboy, but little did they know he would die on a page coming up soon. And this is that moment.
This is the moment. My God. Wow, we're here, guys.
Malboy is dead after how many pages are we on? 22 pages. Malboy is dead.
And it really thought like he was going to be a critical character for a while to come.
Exactly. I think one of the books I read in year 7 was Holes by Louis Sacre, which, for those who haven't read it, it's a book really good for kids because a lot of like little seeds are planted throughout the book that end up becoming really relevant later.
Yes.
So I think I was trying to channel that a bit by directly saying Dragon Mailboy will die on another page, and then it's come to fruition.
Is that the Shia LaBeouf movie?
The Shia LaBeouf movie, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with Sigourney Weaver and John Voight as well.
I haven't actually seen it. It's on the list.
Great book, great film.
Would you recommend I read it?
I recommend you read it, but first read Harry Potter.
The water was well below absolute zero.
We're dealing in lots of impossible extremes in this
book. You can't reach absolute zero. But for some reason, it wasn't frozen. Again, magic.
Yeah, it's
I would have to say, right?
Yeah. J.K. Rowling never used the magic to do things like that, but I've taken creative liberty.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, ... in the Great Hall.
Another tactic J.K. Rowling never used, just like meanwhile at Hogwarts. Meanwhile, back at the Dursleys.
Yeah, like quite a comic book strip type transition.
You can't just change the scene in a book with a meanwhile. It just doesn't work like that.
Now, 2nd to 7th years, this is the first day that the first years will ever have. They are currently...
I guess at Hogwarts we'll ever have.
Yeah. They are currently swimming across the negative 99,999 degrees Celsius lake.
Wow.
It's well below absolute zero. And when they walk in, I want you to make them feel as bad and uncomfortable as possible.
Because you think, hey, when they get here, I just want you to all encourage them. They might be nervous. They might be shy. Just make them feel great. Make them feel welcome. But no, this person's gone the opposite route.
Please point and laugh at them as much as possible. It goes on. It just goes on. And use as many curses, including the Cruciatus curse on them, said Harry Potter, the current headmaster. Wow.
And head of Giving Head.
Head of Giving Head.
The Cruciatus curse is the unforgivable curse, the torture curse that inflicts extreme pain on the victim.
Wild sort of heel turn for Harry Potter here. It's like he's forgotten his youth, or maybe he's scarred from the experience.
Literally scarred. But I just think it's horrible that, he's just saying, hey guys, just make him feel as bad as possible.
Well, I remember, like, of course, in like high school, you get a new kid coming, the teacher would obviously say, like, hey guys, like, just be friends. So I love your take on that.
So from memory, Harry in this book, similar to Hagrid, is he's gone a bit loopy.
Yeah, right.
And he doesn't really resemble the Harry that we know. He's a new Harry. Time has changed him.
As he said, Harry Potter, the current headmaster, in brackets, again, really selling it to the listener.
Yep, just in case.
Just in case you forgot from 3 pages ago. As he took 127 steps in a northeasterly direction.
So he's just talking and he's just like...
I also like the idea that he's got a compass. Yeah. He's like, oh, wait,
He's looking for treasure or something.
If you don't, you are expelled immediately, and then you will be sent to Neville's office. And nobody likes Neville.
I just love the idea of a school headmaster saying any of this stuff.
No one likes Neville. You don't want to go there. It's worse than being expelled.
I just imagine Neville's like, because I think Neville's one of the teachers in this. I just imagine he's kind of sitting there like, what
about a drive-by? What the hell? Suddenly, the first years walked in miserably, except for Tom, who was an excellent swimmer. But don't worry, because someone shot him.
So in this world, the wizards have discovered guns.
And they're using them on first years.
I like to think it's just a rogue fifth year.
Yeah, Tom gets out all confident. He's like swam through absolute zero, no dramas. Bang.
Harry just like whispers to a kid, get your gun out, shoot
him. Fuck that kid.
How horrible.
But again, vital part later on, so I brought him back.
The
smiley face.
The book says that.
And there's literally a smiley face in the book.
It's not an emoji. Emojis didn't exist at this time.
No.
It's just a smiley
Classic
face.
smiley face.
Again, which Rowling never employed in her books, much to her detriment, I'd like to think.
And the whole school stood up laughing at them. Great. We're in unison here. 3 or 4 of the first years began to cry.
Only?
Actually, yeah. Pretty strong cohort.
If that happened to me, I'd be like, I don't want to go to this school anymore. This is ridiculous.
I'm going to swim back.
I think there's a trope in a lot of cartoons and fiction, which is adults are useless, which is like...
Yes.
If you look at a show like, say, South Park, often the adults are just as incompetent as the kids and just allow these ridiculous things to happen. And I think there's a bit of that coming through.
They get caught up in the bureaucry or like whatever it is, and they can't see like the truth of what it is.
You know, this could never happen in any school, even a magic school.
You'd certainly hope not. Hagrid fainted from the commotion and landed on the first years.
It's a 46 trillion.
Well, they're all dead. Like
that's the end of the story.
Yeah, what a tale we've experienced.
But as we've learned from this chapter, death is not necessarily the end in this book.
You will be brought back. They've all just got resurrection stones in their pockets. Once all the first years were cured. So
should be were.
I'm not gonna kill you for that one.
Read it as it was written.
But I dare not defy the author. Yeah, exactly. Once all of the first years were cured, brackets, except for 17 who died crushed by Hagrid's ass.
And then I like the fact that happened, and then like Madame Pomfrey, the nurse, had to go spend, I assume, like a couple hours curing all the other students, and then it's like, all right, well, these ones have died. Yeah, we'll just continue as normal.
I can cure a bone in a heartbeat, but growing them back, these guys are dead. Sorry.
And it's like, sorry, are you gonna have to write a letter to the parents? There was an unfortunate incident at Hogwarts.
Yeah. Oh, what did my son do? Well, he actually was killed by a crazy man's ass. Harry Potter stood up and said, "I would like to say a few words before we start. This is the day that Fat Bosch Saga joke Orc Jade."
Okay.
Which was incredibly random.
And the book says that. The book says it's incredibly random.
Yeah, that was all quote. Hagrid, start the year with one of your songs, Harry said.
Hasn't Hagrid done enough damage today?
This is the most Hagrid's had to do since, like, Prisoner of Azkaban.
There was a noticeable decline in Hagrid in the films over the years.
He was really usurped by Dumbledore as the sort of mentor guide. And I as a kid, I loved Hagrid. I was so disappointed that he was kind of relegated to this.
And Harry named his kid Albus Severus Potter. Couldn't throw in a Rubius? Couldn't throw in a Rubius there?
He probably had like a new owl. He was like,
Oh, Hagrid, this is my new owl, Rubius. Oh, so you name your son Albus and you name your owl Rubius. Thanks, Harry.
I know where I stand.
I'm the one that brought you into this world.
Yeah, well, mate, you are 73 trillion kilos, so I didn't want to know my son after that. So Hagrid started the year with one of your songs, Harry said. Hagrid got up and started singing.
Oh, gosh.
This is all caps. My name is Hagrid. I am fat. Firstly, this is reminding me how funny fat jokes were as a 13-year-old. Maybe not as much now. I think I have more of a censor now. Kind of thing.
You would, but it's Hagrid singing the song.
It is so Hagrid.
Clearly, he's aware.
It's self-declared. I am fat. I'm fatty. That's my nickname.
And this is a song. He's written this song at some point.
I was accused for opening the chamber of secrets. Is that trying to be his accent?
It's spelled secrets as Sekorets.
Yeah. To finish the song.
It's a song that doesn't rhyme and goes for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, tough to pick up the rhythm. I imagine he did it more justice than I did in the hall. You see, Hagrid had become quite a rock star in the space between the seventh book and this one.
Two interesting things about that. One, referencing the fact that it's a book, and two, well, need I say more? Hagrid's a rock star.
Yep, and that could have been it. Could have been the sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Fucked him up a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe Harry was in the band.
Sent him a little bit off the edge, He went a bit down the dark path. Professor Finnegan, the new Muggle studies teacher, and yes, it is Seamus Finnegan.
Oh, another male character.
Yep, shock. Fainted from the commotion.
Stop. First of all, this book just, like, this chapter is chaos. Characters dying left, right, and center.
I'm reading it and I'm struggling to follow. I can't imagine what it's like for the audio listener.
Just stuff is just happening. Like, here's Hagrid, he's fainted. Now they're curing them. Now here's
this character's dead, but he is back. But he's dead. But he's singing.
But I'm pretty sure as well, if you scroll up, did it also say up above that Hagrid fainted from the commotion?
Yeah, no, commotion has been used twice.
Hagrid fainted from the commotion, and now Seamus Finnegan, 5 minutes later, has fainted from the continued commotion. And I just love this idea that everyone's just watching this, and then people are just like, oh, passing out. Harry Potter's just like, this is my school. This is what happens here.
Did someone faint from the commotion in the books? Like, I feel like this is...
Maybe it's referencing
like,
that.
Was it
Professor Quirrell?
I was thinking Quirrell, like, thought you ought to know.
Yeah, maybe, but that wasn't, I guess it was commotion, the commotion.
I mean, there's a troll in the dungeon.
Yeah.
And that's, you want to talk about commotion. All right.
So we're up.
Okay, yeah.
Suddenly Professor Finnegan's fainted from the commotion.
So we've just done all of this critical analysis, but if I read on, I think it actually explains itself. So Professor Finnegan...
Well, we should have let you finish, I guess.
No, and I apologise to the true author, 13-year-old Mike, not you.
No.
Professor Finnegan fainted from the commotion. And yes, this story is becoming quite repetitive.
Oh, wow.
With fainting and dying and stuff. I've just kept recycling the same jokes over and over. Smiley face.
So there was clearly an awareness. So we thought it was poor and lazy writing. It actually turns out it was an intentional satire of writing.
We just got rolled by a 13-year-old Mike.
Pretty much. And all we had to do was read one more sentence, which we neglected to do.
Okay. Shut up, idiot narrator. Let the sorting begin, said Harry Potter in bold text.
and that quote is in bold.
And it did. So not only is the narrator aware of its sort of existence, but so are the characters. It's like they're hearing the narration as it goes.
The characters are
which is
aware,
good to know.
Or at least Harry Potter is aware that someone is narrating the book.
Yep.
And also, when he says, when it says let the sorting begin, and it did, the exclamation marks after it did, there's probably 100. They take up the rest of the page.
They do. There's probably more exclamation marks on this page than words. You really needed to sell it home. And that brings us to the end of the chapter. So I think we're up to the sorting hat.
Yeah, I loved that, man. That was a great chapter and a great read.
Oh no, I mean this is just a wonderful story. I'm so excited to see it evolve.
Thank you, man.
As one of your astute listeners pointed out in an email, it will take like 15 years to get through all these.
Yes,
how many books have you written?
There's 7 books.
Wow.
And we're on chapter 5 of the first book. So there is a little bit to go. We have a couple bits of correspondence. Are you cool to stick around for those?
I'd love to, yeah.
All right, I'll take the laptop back off you. Thank you so much for doing this, man. We had an email come in. 2 emails. One comes in from Charlotte, and thank you for writing in, Charlotte. You can email the show anytime, radiomikepod@gmail.com, or just get in touch with me on my Instagram, radio.mike. So Charlotte's actually found another blunder from last week's episode. I'm not sure if you heard that one. It was on the Hogwarts Express. Did you hear that one?
What was the blunder? Oh, I heard the episode. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. So
how could I miss it, man?
She says, "Hey, Radio Mike," or should I say wireless Mike, as they call radios wireless throughout Harry Potter. So she's very in touch.
Okay.
So I don't know if I call myself wireless Mike for
She's
the rest
definitely
of this.
listened to me called Felch and thought,
she's like, who is this guy?
I want to kill this guy.
Nah, Charlotte, thanks for all this. Just a quick question about chapter 4. At 24 minutes, and maybe I'll cut the audio in here in post, it said the boys get onto a carriage on the bus, not the train. I'm guessing this means the Hogwarts Express is some kind of metamorph Magus train. Cheers, Charlotte. So I missed that. They all got onto one carriage on the bus.
Wow. I mean, I definitely missed that as well.
So
great pickup.
Yeah, she's picked something that's slipped under the radar for both of us.
And I would never question the author. Like, everything in this is very deliberate.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think she's spot on. I think that's the best way to interpret it.
Yeah, I assume in this, it wasn't a mistake. It is a bus. But also, I do think it was just me forgetting it was a train and riding bus.
Hogwarts Express?
Stopping all stations.
Yeah, bus stop 9 3/4.
Yeah. Train replacement bus. G'day, guys. Just here's the cue for the train replacement bus when platform.
Yeah, so we're working on the tracks. Yeah. Absolute nightmare out there.
This one comes in from Amy. It's a long email, but I will read all emails on this show. And she was named last week as the official correspondent of the show.
Amy's been sending in some great stuff.
She's great. Here's what she says. Hey, Mal. Hi. She doesn't say, hey, Mal. She says,
hey, Mal.
She says, hi, Mike. Thanks for the fancy new title. I was listening to the podcast while sitting in Brisbane Airport waiting to be transferred to hotel quarantine when I heard. Unfortunately, my Harry Potter books are at home in Melbourne, so I won't be able to use the 2 weeks to attempt to break my 17-day record of reading the entire series.
Oh my God.
17 days,
That is
books.
impressive.
Some of those books have 600-700 pages in them, so very impressive.
Wow.
The French version of Harry Potter has a lot of differences in names and spells. Lots of the alliteration and wordplay goes away, which I think is a bit of a shame. And you're right about Elvis being Tom Riddle's middle name in the French version. His middle name is, his name is Tom Elvis Jedusor, which spells Je suis Voldemort.
Right.
Not sure if you already knew this, but the name Voldemort comes from French and means flight from death. And I think mort means death in French, like more.
Right, mortal. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As in the original books, Tom Riddle's middle name comes from his maternal grandfather, you wouldn't know this because it's in the book, who in the English version is Marvolo Gaunt. So in the French version, his name's Elvis Gaunt.
Cool.
A lot of the characters have different names in the French version, which I think is an unnecessary change from the translator. The funniest one is Madame Poppy Pomfrey, who we referenced before, whose French name is Pom Pom Pomfresh. You can't make it up. It's like the French one is a parody.
The French one is maybe funnier.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not Pouf Souffle, but I also was in tears when you and Luke were reading.
Pouf Souffle is the French.
Pouf Souffle.
But Pouf Souffle is funnier.
Way funnier.
Also, funnily enough, French Draco Malfoy's name is really similar to Harry Potter and the Boys. He's called Drago Malfoy. This is insane.
Did you know that?
I did not know that, but I remembered, and this is a good one for people. You might know about this show. Mm-hmm. There was a sketch comedy show in Australia on Channel 7 called Big Bite.
Yes.
Chris Lilly was in that show, obviously of, Summer Heights High, We Can Be Heroes, Angry Boys.
That was back during the sketch comedy show Wars.
Yes, correct.
Skit House, Comedy Inc.
Yes.
Big Bite was one of the greats.
Yeah, The Wedge. But I realised in Big Bite, Chris Lilly plays a Lucius Malfoy style character in a Harry Potter sketch called Mailman. And I'm pretty sure I've stolen it from that because it would have been peak this time.
Yeah, and that's right in your wheelhouse as well.
I used to watch Big Bite all the time, so I think I've definitely stolen that. Respell, sorry, we're still going here. Is that okay?
Yeah, no. This is great. There's so much information coming from names.
I expected the French spells to be the same in English because of their Latin roots. When I started learning French in high school, I noticed I understood lots more about the names of spells and characters because they came from Latin, but there are actually some differences. Most of them are similar, but some differences are Expecto Patronum is Spero Patronum, Stupefy is Stupefix, Obliviate is Oubliettes, and Crucio is Endoloris. Dolor is French for pain. In regards to doctors being mentioned in Chapter 4, I mentioned whether Harry Potter if the magic world has doctors, they do at St. Mungo's. And then she says, end of email. Thanks from Amy. So thank you, Amy. We appreciate it.
Great stuff from Amy again. Keep them coming.
So that's pretty much it.
Great.
Thank you for coming in. Any final thoughts? Any final...
Mate, it was a pleasure to see it in action and to be a part of it. It's brilliant. I can't wait to see how far this goes. I got a really good feeling about this project. So
great. And will you come on again?
Oh my god, it would be a pleasure of mine if you'll have me and if the listeners will have me. I don't want to
definitely, man. This is fun.
Impede on the experience, but it's fun to share for sure. I was curious, and if you want to leave this in or not, it's really up to you. But I was curious about your influences as a comedy writer as a kid.
Yeah.
Because, we've talked about it a little bit during this episode, but it's fascinating to understand sort of where these references and, sort of why you wanted to do this.
I think I always used to write stories. I used to write stories all the time. I actually wrote a Del Toro Quest ripoff. It was called like The 5 Rings of Feltana or some shit like that, and it's just a complete copy of
not as catchy as Harry Potter and the Boys either.
But I was watching certainly not highbrow comedy, but I was watching a lot of Family Guy.
Yeah. That makes sense. A lot of these kind of like subverting tropes.
Yeah, it
references.
was when you'd watch The Simpsons and then you moved up to Family Guy and South Park and you felt a little bit more edgy.
Oh, totally.
But then Captain Underpants, the books, which did you ever read those?
Actually, I forgot to mention, they are definitely books I read. Yeah. I was like, great, cartoons, big font, tick. That's for me. If
you go back to read any of the Captain Underpants books, which I maintain are some of the funniest children's books ever written, a lot of the tropes in those books, I think, are reflected in here.
Right. So often, that was actually that was pretty self-aware, right?
Often the characters knew that it was a book, and the characters, I really liked how the characters in the book would write comics and then they'd hold up the comic as a page in the book and you'd be flipping through the... Really liked that. And often just being aware of the tropes and the things that were happening around them. And there was Deus Ex Machina, like, then this happened and it was all okay, which reflects a lot in this.
Yeah,
So I was trying to emulate that. But yeah, man.
That's fascinating, and it's really cool to see. I like the idea that you sort of initially wrote this as something to read in front of your class.
Yes.
And then you revisited it and digitized it and immortalized it at 13. Now you're analyzing it critically with a 20-something mind. I feel like this is going to be like a Stan adaptation in your 30s or something. You know what I mean? That's like the next evolution of this.
Hopefully, we'll see
writing
how it goes. Where can people find you and stuff you do?
I'm around, guys. If I come on again, I will have something exciting to spruce. But for now, I'm just here for the vibes and for what is a great podcast. So thanks for having me.
Do you want to plug your Insta or anything?
No, it's all right. You'll see me.
All right. Yeah. Go if you see Zach in the flesh. Go up to him and say...
Love to have a chat.
Yeah. Say, I heard you on the pod. You were bloody great. That's all for Harry Potter and the Boys this week. Thank you so much, Zach. Subscribe on YouTube. All these go up as videos on YouTube. And leave a review for the podcast. That's the best way to help it out. I think that's pretty much it. Catch you later, muggles.
Wizard Harry.